The biggest problem video editors have is speed. Editing just takes ages, and after 10 years of being a professional video editor for YouTubers and businesses, I've picked up lots of different ways to speed up my editing, but none of them compare to the #1 editing secret that professional video editors barely ever talk about. So in this video, I'm going to reveal what this secret is, how I use it to speed up my editing, and why you should use it too if you want to spend less time on the technical side of things and more time focusing on your edit. And keep watching to the end to find out how I took this even further, which has allowed me to edit videos that used to take me a whole day, now in just under 2 hours. So the first thing that's going to speed you up is realizing that rushing leads to mistakes, and ultimately a badly edited video, which takes just as long to edit because you're having to go back and then fix all the mistakes, so it's just worse all round. What you need to do is edit smarter, and to edit smarter you need to be using keyboard shortcuts. So here's the difference they can make to your editing. So if I want to add, for example, a basic Gaussian blur, I have to open up the effects browser, open up the effects tab, realize it's not in there, scroll down to the open effects, click on that, and then find Gaussian blur. Double click on the effect, and then close the effects browser, which took 13 seconds. And if I'm adding an effect or title on average once every 2 minutes, after an 8-hour day of editing, I've lost nearly an hour of time just clicking and searching inside of the effects browser alone. And that's not including all of the effects and titles that take even longer to find, which would push the time up even more. This is where creating keyboard shortcuts comes in. Now, I just press Command B on my keyboard and a Gaussian blur is added to my selected clip in under a second. So comparing this with the previous approach, if I set a timer, you can see the custom keyboard shortcut has already finished. Whilst the old way of doing this is still searching for which tab the effect belongs in. But the problem here is that the shortcut to do what I've just shown you doesn't actually exist in editing programs. Most people will stick to the basic built-in ones, which I'd also highly recommend familiarizing yourself with, but these can only get you so far, which is why you need to make your own custom keyboard shortcuts. But how do you do this if it isn't built into your editing software? Well, for people who use Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro, there's third-party programs that can do this. Years ago, I edited mainly on Final Cut, and I used a free program called Command Post. And on Premiere Pro, I used a program called Excalibur. Both of these are great, but I now edit on Davinci Resolve, which doesn't have anything like these. So I had to create my own way of doing this. In comes Keyboard Maestro, a third-party app that is dedicated to creating custom keyboard shortcuts, also known as macros. And a macro is basically a predetermined set of actions that will happen one after the other. But I'm just going to call them custom keyboard shortcuts for this video. I have no affiliation with the owners of this app. I've had no contact with them at all. I'm just making this video because their app is what I and many others use. It's only available on Mac, but if you're on Windows, one of the alternatives is a free app called Auto Hotkey. An editor called Taran has done a huge video on how to use Auto Hotkey with Premiere Pro, so I would highly recommend checking that out if you're on Windows. You can apply all of the things in that video to the things I'm about to show you in Davinci Resolve now. So going back to my Gaussian blur shortcut, here's exactly what is going on with this. When I press Command B on the keyboard, it triggers my custom keyboard shortcut in Keyboard Maestro, which in this case is a set of 4 separate keyboard commands that will happen one after the other, really quickly. So I press Command B and it will activate the first command, which is Shift Space. This opens up the effects search bar, which is a feature that is new in Davinci Resolve version 20.1 and above. Next, it will paste in the words Gaussian blur, then it will press the down arrow to select the effect, and then end with pressing the enter button, which adds the effect straight to the selected clip. And this is all done within less than a second. I now have custom keyboard shortcuts set up for nearly everything I do in Davinci Resolve, which means I can edit 10 times faster. And once I reveal the big secret in this video, you'll see why I can also edit for longer, because my wrist no longer aches from all of the clicking and dragging of the mouse, which was something I wasn't even expecting. So how can you set this up for your own editing? Well, it's really simple. Here's how this looks inside of Keyboard Maestro. All you need to do is create a macro and then set up what is going to trigger it. In this case, I want the trigger to be Command B. Then you just set up the series of keyboard commands that you want to happen after Command B is pressed. So in this case, you want the first action to be shift space being typed. So you just click on new action and drag in the type a keystroke command. Then you just click on this box and type in the keystroke, which in this case is shift space, which is opening up the effects search bar, which like I said before, you'll need to make sure that you're on Davinci Resolve version 20.1 or above to have the search bar feature. And then if you go into the keyboard customization menu and then inside of the edit section, scroll down and you'll find search effects. Just make sure this is set to shift space and then this will work as intended. Next, we want it to paste the words Gaussian blur into the search bar. So we add a new action. This one is called insert text by pasting. So we just add the words Gaussian blur here and then it's going to paste that into our search box, which means that the Gaussian blur effect will pop up here. The last two actions are just keystrokes, so it's done in the same way as the first one. So we just add the keystroke action here, and we want this one to be the down arrow, which in Davinci is going to select the Gaussian blur effect, and then the last action will just be the enter button, which will add the effect to the selected clip. And like I showed before, all of these 4 steps are done within a second. So I just hit Command B, and the blur has been added to my clip. Just like that. And you can set this up with anything. Transitions, titles, overlays, whatever you use regularly. You can save so much time by being able to bring it into your timeline with just a click of a button. The less you spend searching for things, the more time you can spend on making a better edit. So what kind of effects or titles do I use this for? Well, I've built a pack of presets that speed up mine and other editors' workflows massively. And now I can bring any of these presets to my timeline within a second. If I need to animate something, I just hit Ctrl-Shift-A and then my Animate A to B preset is brought to my clip. Then I just set the A controls and then the B controls and it's done. It will animate from A to B, all with custom easing applied. If I want to zoom into some footage, I just hit Ctrl-Shift-Z and then I've got my zoom camera preset on my timeline, which I just set the A controls and then the B controls, and again, it's done. It will animate from A to B. It's simple, it's quick, and it takes out all of the unnecessary clicking and dragging. I've got 21 presets in this pack that are all designed to speed up editing and save time in Davinci Resolve. So if you want yet another way to speed up your workflow, you can check out my Essentials preset pack in the description below. But going back to the keyboard shortcuts, using these is what so many professional editors do. They find ways to get rid of repetitive tasks, which then speeds up their workflow. You can see how far I've taken this here. I have a different set of shortcuts for each page inside of Davinci Resolve. So you can see that when I change to a different page, a different set of shortcuts gets activated. And it looks crazy. And you're probably thinking, how on earth can someone remember all of these shortcuts? And now that I'm looking at it like this, I'm wondering how I remember all of these shortcuts as well. But it's just stuff that you build up over time, starting with the basic built-in ones like I showed earlier. But even with all of that, this can be taken another step further. And what I did next is an editing secret that transformed my workflow speed more than anything else. So when I edit for clients, I have a set group of titles and effects that I'll use for each of their videos, so that each video fits to their branding and I know that they've already approved the style of them. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be great if I could just reach out and pick a title and it just goes straight to my cursor, instead of having to go up to the effects panel and go through the whole process of trying to find them and all of that. Well, I can confirm that it is great, because I have that exact system set up. And here's what it looks like. Using my iPad, I can see all of these commonly used titles, images, and effects that I use for this client. So this was when I was editing a series of videos for Rubik's. If I wanted a specific title, I would just tap on the title on my iPad, and then within a second, it's on my timeline. All done and ready to go. If I click on next page, I get all of these images that were used throughout these videos. So when someone turned the left side of the cube clockwise, I would just tap on this image and it comes straight to my timeline. There's no searching around or having to go back and forth. I can just stay locked in on the timeline and not have to stop my flow or my trail of thought to find things. It's all just there. I've got pages set up for each of my clients. So whoever I'm editing for, I can just tap on their titles and effects and edit seamlessly. And this is something that barely anyone talks about. A lot of people show how they use hardware like Stream Decks to set up shortcuts like copy and paste, for example, which is great and works really well, but being able to take it one step further and combine it with your own completely custom keyboard shortcuts that will do multiple things all in the space of a second to save you massive amounts of time is what really takes things to a whole new level. So how do you get something like this set up? Well, you need to basically just use an app that will send a keyboard shortcut from your phone or your tablet or anything like that to your computer. So for example, the app I use is called Touch Portal. Again, I have no affiliation with the owners of this app. I've had no contact with them at all. This is just the app I use. So what happens is if I want to use this title wipe text, I just tap on the image that I've set up. This then sends a command to my computer with a keyboard shortcut. And then inside of Keyboard Maestro, like I showed you earlier, it's then going to trigger this set of actions in the same way that it would as if I had done that keyboard shortcut on my actual keyboard. From tapping my iPad, I then have the exact title on my timeline in less than a second. It literally feels like one step away from having a hologram and just tapping and dragging things in with your hands. And to make this easier for you to set up for yourself, I've left a download link below which includes a bunch of templates that I've made for Keyboard Maestro and Touch Portal, all for free, and also a PDF on how to install and use them. Also, if you have any of your own ways that speed up your editing, leave a comment below and let me know. I'd love to hear it, and I'm sure anyone else watching would too. If you're not finding ways to get rid of repetitive tasks as an editor, then I highly recommend that you start looking into ways that speed up your workflow. You don't have to go in as much depth as some people do. I mean, I've also got a whole console of buttons and dials set up to my computer, which I also use to activate shortcuts. I even use the dials to change the size and position of images, all to save time and also to save my wrist from having to click and drag. I used to actually get a massive pain at the top of my wrist after a day of editing, but that's completely gone now because of the way that I edit now. But even after I set up all of these shortcuts, there was still something else I needed to do to allow me to edit faster than I ever thought I could. So watch this video to find out what that thing is so you can do it too.